Okay, here we go. Do 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 do. Okay. Talk to you guys like that? No. No. Okay. Lemuroy, I must apologize. We must ask you to stand again and speak. You need not apologize. I know that Machi is innocent, and I will do all that I can until the court realizes this. You were into it? Come on, chat. You can do it. Come on. You can do it, guys. There you go. And I will do all that I can until the court realizes this. Let's review your testimony from yesterday. You told us you heard 2 gunshots and the shooter's voice through the window. And that the voice belonged to Darian Crescent, yes? That is correct. At which point, I proved she could not be correct. She couldn't have heard any of those things. The small window at the scene was closed and found to be quite soundproof. You have nothing to say to that, Mr. Justice. I don't know exactly what yet, but I do know there's something there. There is, it seems, much you do not know. And yet it is my duty to hear him out. Perhaps the witness will be so kind as to testify once more to the court? Of course, Your Honor. Alrighty. Let me roll what I heard. I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. That's when I heard them. Mr. Latus and the detective. I heard the faint sound of a gunshot and stopped. Then I heard another gunshot. There was a smell of gunpowder. I knew I must tell someone, but I was in a hurry, so I kept moving past the small window. Pretty much the same as yesterday's testimony. I am sorry. I'm not used to speaking much in this language. Perhaps my descriptions are lacking in some way. Yet everything I have said here is the truth. Then it is my distinct displeasure to say this. What you have said to have happened is impossible. Do I have to repeat myself? Lemuroy was attacked because of this testimony. What? Trissy? Apollo, you know, for a moment there, you were pretty cool. Maybe I do better when I don't try to think ahead. Very well, Mr. Justice. Perhaps you can coolly cross-examine the witness. Okay, I was on my way from the stage to the backstage exit. Is something wrong? I know I said hold it, but she's saying the same thing she said before. Mr. Justice. Sorry, it's nothing. Please continue with your testimony. Now I know what they mean about the reckless youth these days. The one in red over there is a shining example here, Judge. You're the last person who should be pointing fingers, Mr. Rockstar. That's when I heard them, Mr. Latus and the detective. Okay. I heard the faint sound of a gunshot, then stopped. Then I heard another gunshot. Okay. There were 2 gunshots. Yes, I heard 2, one after the other. That fits with the bullet holes at the scene. Nothing really new here to pick up. There was a smell of gunpowder. I knew I must tell someone, but I was in a hurry, so I kept moving past the small window. You were in a hurry? To go where? I was on my way to the backstage exit, as I have said. Why were you in such a hurry, then? Well, I don't think that has anything to do with this case. It very well might. Please answer the question.
Objection!
Are you alright, Lemuroy? Yes, I am just tired. Recall what I told you yesterday, Hair Forehead. Lemuroy suffers from serious amnesia. Please refrain from traumatizing her further. What? So he can just dismiss questions he thinks are too traumatizing? Why don't you prove her reason had a connection to the case before thinking about it, yeah? The prosecution's objection is sustained. The current question is moot. Mr. Justice, please continue with your cross-examination. Lemuroy was attacked because of this testimony. I know she was. So something's gotta be hidden in there. Maybe there's some detail we're missing? I guess we'll just have to get her to fill in the blanks. Right! So I'm gonna wait for the stage to the backstage exit. Okay. During Crescend, I did not know his name at the time. But yes, it was him, the one who took the stand yesterday. How many times do I need to remind you that's impossible? There's no way you could have heard him. Because the window at the scene was closed? Is that why? Of course. Apollo, if we keep asking the same questions as yesterday, we won't get anywhere. She's right. Maybe there's a different angle I can try? I'm gonna save. What were they talking about? Lemuroy, do you by any chance remember what they were saying to each other? If so, please tell us. I have given it much reflection, but... I was afraid of this. She doesn't remember. I only heard one phrase clearly. A whole phrase? You remember something that was said. Why didn't you say anything yesterday? Though my memory is clear, I was afraid to speak. You see, I do not understand what was said. This could be it, the clue I've been waiting for. Well, what did he say? It was the other man speaking, not Mr. Latouche. The shooter, then. During Crescend. Well, what did he say? It's over. Press the switch. Now. Switch? Oh. And the shooter said this to the victim, Mr. Latouche. I thought it quite strange myself afterward. It is a mystery. What could it possibly mean? Mr. Justice, care to shed some light on this? I mean, sure. I'd be delighted. It's very, very vital. Maybe we could add that to the testimony? Maybe, Apollo? From the small window, I heard a voice say, press the switch, now. Okay. Forgot what my evidence was. Press the switch now. The switch triggers an igniter. Too bad. I was hoping there was a bomb that would blow up the whole Coliseum. You're scaring me. If Emma hears you talking like that, she'll arrest you. And then she'll do all sorts of scientific tests. Like splitting your hairdo into 3 separate spikes. While she stands by laughing in her high-pitched voice. I said she'd arrest you, not me. And she's not some kind of mad scientist. Did you just hear someone laughing? Probably should have saved. But this is supposed to be contradicting, not... Okay, whatever. Press the switch. It's supposed to be contradicting, not agreeing. There's only one key that can unlock the mystery of those words. Oh. Yet there was nothing at the scene that could be called a switch, save the lights. True, there wasn't a switch at the scene, but it just so happens I have a switch right here. That certainly does look like a switch, doesn't it? The problem is, this was found not at the scene of the crime, but on the stage. The stage? Where the concert was held, yes. This was found hidden there. On the stage. Are you claiming that the voice Lamilor heard was of someone commanding another to press the switch? It's a possibility. Objection! Oh, hair forehead? I'd like to call that an impossibility. Why? It's hardly necessary for me to remind the court of the layout of the concert form. The stage is quite far from Lemiroy's dressing room. Not to mention that the Gaviners were in the middle of a concert on said stage. We weren't known for being a quiet band. You could shout all you wanted and not be heard. The detective's voice was loud, but certainly not a shout. So too have Hair Forehead's cries of possibility fallen short of being heard. Sorry, but he wouldn't have needed to shout. Excuse me. You heard what I said, or do you need me to shout it out for you? I would have been quite simple to be heard on the stage from that dressing room. Oh wait, you'd like evidence, don't you? How about this? Using this, it would have been easy to get a message to someone on stage from the dressing room. Prosecutor Gavin, perhaps you're familiar with this. Why is that? What is it? Is it some kind of newfangled phone they invented while I wasn't looking? This is a type of transmitter, a communications device. Communications device. From what I heard that night, everyone on stage was wearing one of these. Isn't that right, Prosecutor Gavin? Yes, actually, they're for talking between band members. We all had one on. So you admit that if you were wearing one of these, talking from the backstage to the stage would be simple. Objection! True, but wait, they'll send out an electronic signal. To avoid interference with the audio systems, their range is quite limited. Lemiroy said it was 30 feet, right? Look at this cross-section diagram of the concert form. Ah, exactly. The walk from the stage to the backstage seems far, but the directed distance is less than 30 feet. That can't be! Ooh, I haven't seen him like that before. So, when Lemiroy heard the shooter's voice, he could have been talking to someone on stage. Objection! Ha! You're claiming this is the switch in question? Why did it have to be on the stage at the time? It could have been placed in a pocket and carried somewhere. Someone could have hid it on the stage after the fact. Hey, he's got a point. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? Cat ears? Alright. Alright, I just realized it's delayed. Okay. How do we know where it was when she heard the voice? When the shooter said press the switch. Oh, when the shooter said press the switch. Well, I guess we don't. An unfortunate situation. I'm afraid that until we know where the switch was, there's little point in debating it. Thank you, Sal. I'm afraid until we know where this switch was, there's little point in debating it. I was sure this was the way to go with this. What is this switch anyway? We don't even know what that basic fact. Wait a second. I do know what this switch is. And if you follow that train of logic to its incredible conclusion, it ends up being proof that completely changes this case. What's up, Apollo? Apollo? We know about the switch, right? We know what it is. Yeah? Well, think of when it was used that day. Think of what happened. Well, Mr. Justice, if you have no further information to share concerning this switch, Your Honor. Yes, Mr. Justice? I've been remiss in not telling the court this before. I know what the switch is. Well, it seems the defense is set upon linking the switch to the case. Let's see your evidence of the link. What evidence do you have to explain what the switch is? Prosecutor Gavin, you remember this? That what? Is it another one of those newfangled phones? This is an igniter. What phone looks like this? Igniter? You mean it's like a lighter? Yes, actually. You aren't saying the switch is a remote. I am. This is a remote trigger for an igniter. What? Look, I'll show you. Yow. Mr. Justice, you will cease and desist from burning down this courtroom. Sorry. That was a bit more fire than I expected. God, that expression is so cute. If my whiskers had caught on fire... Prosecutor Gavin, let me repeat myself. This switch is a remote igniter trigger. Doesn't that suggest something to you? You're talking about what happened to me, aren't you? Exactly. That night on the concert, there was one unusual burst of flame. When your guitar caught on fire in the middle of your performance. Wasn't that part of the stage show, though? Prosecutor Gavin was entirely unaware such a thing had been planned. And the guitar that burned was a valuable keepsake. That's right. He got it in Virginia from Lemmy Roy. He said the sound was amazing before it burned, of course. Now it's just kind of smokes. The better the guitar, the brighter it burns. Hair forehead. Yes? Don't tell me you're trying to tie these two things together. Those being the shooter's voice heard by Lemmy Roy. And the guitar suddenly catching on fire. I am. It's really simple when you think about it. Mr. Latouche and the shooter were at the crime scene. The shooter was wearing a headset. He ordered someone on stage to press the switch. The switch was pressed and the guitar caught fire. Well, that does seem to make sense. Though something about it is bugging me. Can't quite put my finger on it. Really, it seems pretty simple to me. Hair forehead, don't destroy what little respect I have for you. Damn. I was expecting something a little more sensible. I guess I was wrong. What's this all about, Prosecutor Gavin? His simple story simply makes no sense. Think, that night my guitar caught on fire, yes. The cause may have been this, indeed. However, the guitar caught fire during the second set. That's right, of course! The guitar caught on fire during Lemmy Roy's song! Indeed, yet the shooting happened during the third set. The two are utterly unrelated. Yes, that must have been what was bugging me. The whole premise for this is faulty. See? His story makes no sense. Objection! Are you sure about that? What exactly do you mean, Mr. Justice? Maybe it's not the premise for my explanation of the switch that's at fault. Maybe it's our premise for the entire case so far. What premise is this specifically? I'm glad you asked. I'm saying that maybe the killing didn't take place in the third act. Objection! What's this? But Detective Emma Sky heard shots and found the body. All of this happened in the third act. Objection! Gunshots rang out, and according to his testimony, Machi was in that dressing room at the time. Where are you going with this, Mr. Justice? Stay with me, Your Honor. He also told us this in his testimony. Namely, that the victim had already been shot. We all heard gunshots, but no one saw the shooting. This is insane. Just before the shooting took place, the shooter was heard on this headset, telling someone to press the switch. The next moment, Prosecutor Gavin's guitar burst into flame. We know that a remote trigger igniter was inside the guitar. From all these facts, we can draw only one conclusion. The crime did not take place during the third act, but during the ballad performance, the second act. What? Order, order, order! But that goes against the evidence. What does, Your Honor? This crime was carried out according to the lyrics of that song, yes?
Hey, he's right! Look! The bullet is supposed to come after the fire!
You're thinking about it the wrong way.
Huh?
Look, why would the shooter craft the events of the day to follow the lyrics anyway? It's an awful lot of trouble to go through, with little merit for the person doing it. Well, I'm sure whoever it was had some reason. Yes, they did. A reason that made it advantageous to follow the lyrics. You're saying the order was reversed on purpose? Reversed, Prosecutor Gavin. The criminal followed the lyrics strictly, then yes. The shooting would have come after the guitar burst into flame. Yet Herr Forehead has raised another possibility. He's claiming that the bullet came not after, but just before the fire. Couldn't have been put better myself. We were only meant to think that the shooting came after the guitar burst into flame. That was the criminal's objective. The crime followed the lyrics to a point, but that was a ruse. Why would the killer risk discovery by moving the body? That was the final touch to make us think he'd follow the lyrics the whole way. I see. Order, order, order! That would explain this most unusual situation. It does. The killer changed the order of events to create himself an alibi. In other words, the killer was someone who had an alibi for the third set, but not the second. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this, but sadly it has. Let me tell you why your little fairy tale makes no sense at all. Oh, it sounds good, I'll give you that. You've given us a reason why the killer bothered following the lyrics of my song. But I question your logic. For it's flawed from the very beginning. Flawed? Yes, a contradiction, Herr Forehead. One I've pointed out several times, no less. At the time of the crime, the small window at the scene was closed. How could Lemuroy have heard a voice through it? Oh. I know that you would like to divert our attention from this critical fact, but you're basing your entire line of reasoning on a false premise. Right. Lemuroy's testimony is my entire case. That voice she heard, the shooter's voice.
Well, what if she couldn't hear it, Apollo?
Look, what do we have? A man saying press the switch. And near the crime scene, we have a switch, which acts as a remote trigger for an igniter. And last but not least, Prosecutor Gavin's flaming guitar. Can't all be a coincidence, but how do I make it work? I see a more direct line of questioning is required. When the crime scene was investigated immediately after the crime, that window was closed. Care to tell us how Lemuroy heard the voice? A key point to be sure. Mr. Justice, can you explain this to the court? Okay, Justice, you've got one thing to prove and one thing only. Lemuroy heard a voice, and she heard it during the second set. Think, how was Lemuroy able to hear the voice? The window probably wasn't open. She doesn't have divine hearing. Well, she kind of does, but... yeah, she was somewhere else. She was on stage. Well, that doesn't really make much sense, but yeah. When we investigated the scene, the window was closed. The shooter had no reason to close it, and had it been open either. Meaning it was impossible to hear the voice through that window. It's good to hear you making sense again. For a moment, I was afraid you might be a Borginian too. As I was saying, Lemuroy cannot hear the voice through the window. So there can only be one explanation. She heard the voice from another location entirely. What's this? You do amuse me so. And here I thought you had good sense and were back on speaking terms. Now I'm afraid you and good sense speak two entirely different languages. Shall I interpret for you, Hair Forehead? Lemuroy clearly stated she heard the voice through that small window, and there's only one small window at the scene. Are you sure? Think about it. Isn't there another small window at the scene? Is there?
There is?
I know that look. He wants us to ask him. Very well. You claim Lemuroy heard the voice from another location? Mr. Justice, show us where this location was. Lemuroy heard the voice from here. Are these vents or lights? Here? This is where Lemuroy heard that voice from. Delay is big again. God damn it. Alright, well, all I can do is continue. I'm sorry, guys. This is where Lemuroy heard that voice from. But that's no small window, that's the air vent. What did she tell us? She said she's a Borginian, unfamiliar with our language. It's not a stretch to imagine she called this air vent a small window. Now you've done it. You've gone beyond ridiculous and into ludicrous. So Lemuroy was up in the ventilation system listening to this man's voice. That's the only logical explanation, yes. Logical. I do not think this word means what you think it means, Hair Forehead. Okay, what about it isn't logical? Ha, it hardly merits saying. Why would Lemuroy be in the ventilation system? Oh damn, 14 seconds? Damn. Why would Lemuroy be in the ventilation system? Hiding like a rat, no offense intended to her, of course. The explanation for that is simple, Prosecutor Gavin. Isn't it, Lemuroy? You've been listening to our discussion here, yes? Yes. I admit it's had me quite confused since yesterday. Yes, the small window was closed. But why should that mean I could not hear through it? I feared our prosecutor might himself need an interpreter. Damn. The problem here is words. Lemuroy, the small window through which you heard the voice. Was it up high on the ceiling of the room, not low on the wall? Yes, it was up on the ceiling. What? Order, order! I will have order! Witness, you will clarify this statement to the court. Are you in fact saying you were up above the ceiling of the room? And that's where you heard the moment of the crime? Yes, in fact I was. I am sorry, I never imagined it would become such an important point. Yes, well, why the heck were you up there? I believe it's time for another testimony. I'm not sure I can't. May I remind you, this is a murder trial. We will hear your testimony. Tell us why you witnessed a crime from above the ceiling of that room. Please. Well, looks like I'm on the right track. Well, if the delay is so big, I think I'll have to end stream. Above the ceiling. Okay, let's save. Oh, that picture. That's pretty. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to I don't